everyone. Welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Joining us, as always, is AMC Movie News Editor-in-Chief, John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you live from right here at the Stream.TV studios here in Hollywood, California, and we are so glad to make this a part of your day. And I'm freaking out today. I'm very excited because, I'm going to tell you right now, talking to my mom on the phone, my mom used to watch this old show called The Equalizer. And I told her, hey, did you hear they're doing a remake? She goes, I don't know, I'm nervous. Well, Mom, I went and saw The Equalizer, and there's nothing to be nervous about. And joining us today is the director of The Equalizer and a lot of other of your favorite films that you've seen in the last little while, Mr. Antoine Fuqua. Antoine, thanks so much for being here, man.
Thanks for being here, man.
First of all, kind of like the conversation I had with my mom, a little nervous.
Yeah, you're making me nervous now because if your mom's not happy, that's a problem.
That would end everything.
That was my mom's show too, so
As a little kid, my mom's watching it and I saw it, but the premise was so good.
Right.
But the first thing, before we even get into a lot of the premise, the first question that was in my head when I came out was, not just in The Equalizer, but most of your films, a lot of directors today, they sometimes see an action film and the action is the point of the film.
Right.
You always seem to have this real grasp that the action serves story.
Absolutely.
And I really got that sense, and then when you do it right, the story is elevated so much. Talk about why that's so important and why you're able to find that distinction and that balance so well.
Well, definitely action has to serve the character. It all starts with the character. So the action has to inform you about the character, the way they fight, what tools they use, right, how they move. That tells you a lot more than exposition could ever tell you. So for me, an action scene is like a dialogue scene. So I always think about it like that, of what am I trying to say in this scene, so that you don't lose the acting as well, especially when you have someone like Denzel. It's very easy to take the camera and whip it around and do a bunch of crazy stuff and throw it in the soup and do it in editing. But, that's a little bit like, that's cool, and it works on some things, and it has worked. But sometimes you want to see the actor doing it, you want to see what he's thinking, you want to see the look in his eyes, you want to make sure you see every little moment that takes place.
There's a great scene in a couple of the trailers where Denzel walks into that office and he fights that group of guys.
Right.
And you're right the way you put that. You learn so much about him in that fight, because I'm watching that sequence, I'm thinking, it felt a lot like Bruce Lee, because Bruce Lee would always talk about being efficient with your movements.
Right.
And Denzel, you have him move so limitedly yet so efficiently in it, and we learn so much about the character that way.
Yeah.
What did you want that scene in particular to say about McCall, about Denzel's character?
One is that he had already assessed that room before he came in. So, there's violent men and there's men that understand violence. Like, men that understand violence have already decided on what they're going to do to you before it ever happens. So they would prefer for it not to happen.
Right.
They should have taken the money, by the way. And then the other thing about it is that I wanted you to know that he's highly skilled, he doesn't need a gun, but he's more brutal than the bad guys if he needs to be.
Right.
And so he looks the one guy directly in the eyes when he says, "Do you understand?" with that particular thing he has under his chin. That tells you a lot about that guy who's such a sweet, nice man at the diner.
But one of the things that jumped out to me really obviously is that a lot of action films, hero movies, will just have this very pure, noble, great hero. You do such a great job, especially in the first 15, 20 minutes of the film, that this isn't just a good man. This is a damaged man. This is, in many ways, a broken man. Tell us about this character.
Yeah, he's a complex character. He comes from obviously a dark past. He's done some ugly things that he's not proud of. But he's trying to live a good life. He's trying to live a positive life. He's trying to help the kid Ralphie at the Home Mart where he works. He's trying to help Chloe Moretz's character by giving her encouragement. But he doesn't sleep at night because he's not really being his true self. So the guy we meet in the movie is not really the guy, is not even really who he is. You don't really know who he is until after the event happens in the office, and then I do that shot where he's sleeping, and then he cuts the wood and the wood opens. That's the first time you really meet Robert McCall. Because now you know, oh my God.
The veneer is peeled away.
That's right. So that's what I was trying to convey more than anything there, was that he's a complex character.
Now, you do this great job of setting up the dichotomy in the character, like trying to be a good man, very broken, not being his true self. But you have to assume watching it that, McCall has been living life that way for a while, and he lives in a fallen and a broken world. What was it about the Chloe character, because we see those interactions in the trailers as well, about Chloe's character that you think for McCall was the impetus to bring him back to himself? What do you think it was about that?
Hope. She had hope in her eyes, man. You know, it's like a lot of times these young ladies in that world, they're damaged, and at a certain age, it's kind of hard to save them. You know, she's 15 years old, and she looked in his eyes and said, "I see a lot of men like you." You know, she noticed something about him that not even grown-ups could see. So there was this young kid with all this hope and dreams of being a singer, and he saw the light starting to flicker. You know, and those guys are going to wipe it out eventually. And he said, "You got to save hope. If there's some light still left, you got to do something about that. You can't let that happen."
Now, we've got Denzel Washington playing McCall in this, which is a great choice. And you've had a little success working with Denzel Washington before.
Bit, yeah.
He might have a certain trophy sitting on his mantle somewhere because he worked with you. Talk about that dynamic between you and Denzel and why it works so well.
Complete trust. You have a complete trust. And literally, Denzel will never look at the monitor. He never questions what I'm trying to get. He'll help me get it if I say I need to get this thing. That's really what it is. We collaborate really well together. We spend a lot of time together long before we get to the set to discuss the character. And I don't tie his hands. And he does his thing. You know, I know he's going to show up ready and bring the heat, and I got to show up ready and bring what I do. So we both know that about each other. So I could do my job. He knows he could come in and just focus on his character and not worry about the directing side because I'm going to do my job. You know, and that's the biggest thing. But the biggest thing is trust, complete trust.
Now, this is putting you on the spot a little bit, but I love asking directors when it's all done.
If this is bad, I'm gonna call your mom. I'm telling you, man. Don't put me on the spot.
She'll yell at both of us.
I'm gonna call her.
Now that you sit back and watch the film, it's all done. You've been so invested in it for so long.
Yeah.
What is it you're most proud of in this movie? Now that you sit back and it's done, it's now going to be shown on AMC screens everywhere, starting tonight. What is it you're most proud about The Equalizer?
What I'm most proud about The Equalizer really is when I sit and watch it with an audience, which I've had a chance to do. You know what I mean? I've just gone from 6 different countries with Denzel, and then I watched it here a couple times in our previews and things like that, and in New York and IMAX the other day. And it's interesting when you watch the film with an audience, because the satisfaction is when they enjoy it and the things they respond to and what they bring to a movie. The audience brings so much to a movie, their own life and their own experiences and their own feelings, and you watch that and you hear what they say afterwards. Things that even the director, we didn't think about, even the writer, you go, that's interesting you saw it from that perspective. And that's beautiful, man, and that's the proudest moment, if you have an audience that's satisfied.
All right, now I'm going to get you to step out of your comfort zone for a second. I'm going to get you to put the salesman hat on just for a minute.
Okay.
So opening everywhere in AMC theaters tonight is The Equalizer. Why are AMC audiences going to love The Equalizer?
It's an event. It's an experience. Denzel Washington is incredible, just as incredible as he was in Training Day. The action is just ridiculous, and it's going to shock you. It's going to give you, you'll be talking about it walking to the car. When you walk out of the theater to your car, you'll be talking about The Equalizer.
I've been talking about it for days, because I saw it last week.
Well,
listen, congratulations on the film. I enjoyed it immensely. We cannot wait for AMC audiences to see it. Okay. So guys, don't forget, you can actually get your tickets to The Equalizer right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater showtime and, of course, those movie ticket information. Now, before we get on with the rest of the show, I want to share with you just a little clip from The Equalizer. Check it out.
My real name's Alina.
What happened to your face?
Something stupid. Okay, it's not professional. Just tell me what you think, okay?
Oh, wow. Alina, the singer.
You and I know what I really am.
I think you can be anything you want to be.
Maybe in your world, Robert. It doesn't really happen that way in mine.
Change your world.
Once again, folks, don't forget The Equalizer starts tonight in AMC theaters everywhere. That's going to be one of the highlights of my year, talking to Antoine Fuqua. And joining me at the table right now is, of course, Mr. Mark Ellis and Alicia Malone.
Hi.
And now let's actually get on with topic number 1.
Alrighty. While talking in an interview about his new indie film, Whiplash, Actor Miles Teller began talking a bit about another film he did earlier this year, Divergent. Teller said the following: "When I first read Whiplash, I was feeling dead inside. I didn't have an interesting part in Divergent, and taken the film for business reasons. It was the first movie I'd done that was going to have an international audience. I called my agent and said, 'This sucks.'" He told me about Whiplash. John, buy or sell Teller's comments?
I've got to sell his comments. I mean, look, everybody knows, I've been talking about it for a long time. Miles Teller's the real deal. He is a strong actor. I mean, a lot of people just think of, what, the Project X guy or whatever? Look, see Whiplash, see The Spectacular Now. There's a reason right now why directors are lining up to work with this kid, because he's so good, and I'm a big fan, and one of the reasons I'm actually going to be giving Fantastic Four a shot when it comes out. That being said, I know our first reaction is to say, man, it's refreshing to hear an actor be honest about what it's saying. You know, no. Let somebody else crap talk a movie. Like, I just believe there's got to be a certain thing of professionalism that when you're paid to come and be a part of a film, part of that job is to promote the film and push it. You're a part of it. Now, that doesn't mean you have to lie. Hey, are you super proud about the work you did in Divergent? You don't have to lie about it, whatever. But don't go out of your way to say, man, that was such a life-sucking experience for me. Oh my God, what am I going to do with my... Especially since you're supposed to be coming up in the sequel to it, and now you're sitting there talking publicly about how it sucks. Miles, you can't do this, kid, okay? You just can't do it. Anyway, Alicia, what do you think?
Well, I agree with you that maybe he shouldn't have said it, but I buy, because it's like, oh, so he knew that he was dead inside during Divergent, because it wasn't a good role for him. I mean, I saw Whiplash, and he is incredible in that movie. My God, he puts everything into that role, and hopefully he gets awards attention for it, and then he doesn't have to rely on these kind of movies if he doesn't want to do them, you know, for international success and for box office and for money, because indie films don't make much money. But I like that he said it, and I agree with him, and I'm glad he's got Whiplash now.
I mean, in Whiplash, he goes to the Buddy Rich School of Jazz Drumming, and here he's going to the Shia LaBeouf School of Promotions, because just trashing a project after he did it. I always like honesty, and I think it's refreshing. And he did say that he took the role for the money, so at least he's telling us why he did the movie.
Yeah.
I was not aware. See, I didn't see Divergent because I had a dentist appointment that I invented. So I don't know if he was going to be in the sequel or not. I mean, you see those comments, and you're like, oh, obviously he just had a small role that's not going to factor in to the rest of those movies if they continue to make them. But from what you're saying, it's no, he's in the sequel.
He's in the sequel.
That's going to be an awkward first day on set. Like, hey, everybody, remember me?
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Actor Benedict Cumberbatch's new film, The Imitation Game, hits AMC theaters on November 21st and has just released a new poster, which you can see here. Imitation Game is described as follows. In The Imitation Game, Benedict Cumberbatch stars as Alan Turing, the genius British mathematician, logician, cryptologist, and computer scientist who led the charge to crack the German Enigma code that helped the Allies win World War II. Turing went on to assist with the development of computers at the University of Manchester after the war, but was prosecuted by the UK government in 1952 for homosexual acts which the country deemed illegal. Alicia, buy or sell this poster for The Imitation Game?
I buy it. I love the poster. I think it looks really beautiful. I love the tagline behind every code is an enigma, which sort of talks to Alan Turing and the secrets that he had to have. And all the reviews for this movie have been fantastic, especially for Benedict Cumberbatch, who always plays the troubled genius really well. I think by having his face front and center on the poster, they're starting their Oscar campaign for him. And I will buy anything from this movie. I can't wait.
I'm so looking forward to this movie, and it just won the Toronto Film Festival as well, which I was so happy about. We finally get a chance to really see Benedict Cumberbatch shine on screen, and I sell this poster.
Oh.
To me, it looks like The Social Network, the later years.
No.
I mean, doesn't it look like a Social Network poster? Although I must say, I do agree with you. I do like the pseudo keys that you see behind every code is an enigma. I do like that, but I just thought they could have done more with the poster. Anyway, Mark?
I'm going to buy the poster because I think it's going to bring in a wider audience because everybody loves Benedict Cumberbatch right now.
True.
If you were already like me and you were so interested in the story of Alan Turing, which is something that I've been interested in forever since I heard about this when I was a kid, I would pay to see anybody in a movie about that guy's life that was faithfully portrayed. The fact that you have him and his mug that everybody's in love with on the poster, I think is going to hopefully tell that story to a wider audience. And I'll echo your thoughts, Alicia, that I think this is totally setting up for an Oscar push.
And but doesn't the movie, one of the things sounds so cool, the movie sounds like two incredible movies. The guy who breaks the German code, the national hero who is then shunned because of his sexuality.
Yeah.
Like, two incredible movies.
And maybe that is kind of similar to Social Network. You've got the genius who is not so liked.
That's a great point, and I hope that they focus on both of those, because they're both very interesting stories, and I hope that they combine them.
All right, what's next?
In an interview with Yahoo Movies UK, director Ridley Scott talked a bit about the planned Prometheus 2, disappointing any fans who were hoping to see more of the classic aliens this time around. Scott said the following: "The beast is done, cooked. I got lucky meeting Geiger all those years ago. It's very hard to repeat that. I just happened to be the one who forced it through because they said it's obscene. They didn't want to do it, and I said, I want to do it. It's fantastic. But after 4, I think it wears out a little bit. There's only so much snarling you can do. I think you got to come back with something more interesting, and I think we found the next step. I thought the engineers were quite a good start. Mark, buy or sell no aliens in Prometheus 2.
Oh my God, this is tough. I am going to buy no aliens in Prometheus from the perspective of the director, Ridley Scott, because I understand why artistically he's sick of doing that, and he's sick of people asking him. It's a lot like how I have to feel when I watch a standalone Avengers movie, where I'm like, hey, where's Iron Man? Where's Hulk? No, it's just that guy. I understand it. I like seeing the alien, even if it's just a cameo, even if he just comes in and he opens his mouth and the other mouth comes out and he sings "Hello, my baby, hello, my honey" for like 2 seconds. That's all I need. I understand him not wanting to do it.
Good Spaceballs reference, by the way.
Yeah. I buy this as well, because I agree that it's sad that after so many movies, he kind of loses the shock value of the aliens. And with Geiger passing away in May, it's just not the same without him and without his influence in it. But I like where he's taking this next film, because Prometheus didn't do that well. It was like 51 million opening weekend. Now this one, they're going to follow Elizabeth Shaw, Noomi Rapace's character, and Michael Fassbender's character, who's headless, and they go to the engineer's home planet. Yeah, or bodiless, yeah. And they're going to show how he gets his head and body back together, and then why the engineers are so hell-bent on destroying mankind. So I'm interested in that story.
I'm going to sell it. I did not think this was a good movie. The first one, I didn't think it was very. I think it was just littered with mess everywhere. I thought it was just poorly constructed and put together. And I thought they made a huge mistake with their marketing, because the reason a lot of people would have been excited about this was because it was Ridley Scott returning to the aliens. It's Ridley Scott coming back to aliens, and instead what we got was Ridley Scott coming back to really flawed logic lines that made no sense anywhere. And so now to come and say, yeah, no aliens moving forward, I think it's a mistake, and I think I'd be more interested in seeing Ridley Scott getting back to aliens. But who knows? They could have a great idea about what they're going to do with the engineers. The engineers actually... They're a really cool concept, and that, I think, the bright spot of the original Prometheus for me is the engineers. So if they're pursuing that, that could be interesting.
It's a very promising plot line. I'm very excited to see where this goes. However, it's like, it would be cool to see there's only so much drool you can do, though. Like, if you notice in the Alien movies, every subsequent Alien movie, it got more and more drooly with the mouth. Like, they needed more and more goo to get to sell it. So maybe they just don't have that ability anymore.
I know, and the original Alien is still my favorite, because you don't see the alien for much of it.
Yeah.
It's like a horror film.
All right, what's next?
Game of Thrones and upcoming Hunger Games star Natalie Dormer has just signed on for the upcoming zombie film Patient Zero. Patient Zero is described as taking place in a post-outbreak zombie apocalypse and follows the adventure of one man who has the unique ability to speak with the undead and who hopes to use his gift to discover a cure for the plague and his infected wife. John, buy or sell the sounds of Patient Zero?
I really like Natalie Dormer. Not only is she really good in Game of Thrones, she was incredible in The Tudors. Like, she was so good in that. But I sell this. I'm so bored of zombie movies. I am so bored of them. Every once in a while, they can surprise you, right? Like, I thought Warm Bodies.
Oh, Warm Bodies,
I thought Warm Bodies was kind of
it's
a
like
pleasant little surprise.
rom-com.
I actually kind of enjoyed World War Z, granted, but just in general, I'm over the zombie films already. Mark?
I loved World War Z, and I love this concept, but I have to echo your sentiments a little bit, where I'm just tired. It's like, die already. Yeah, I mean, I know you're already dead, kind of, but really die this time.
Die again.
And it seems like every zombie movie, there is that person that's looking for the cure, and the movie's going to be called Patient Zero, so obviously that's that's what it's going to focus on. I'm probably going to get really excited when I sit down in the theater to actually see it, but as far as me getting anticipated, getting jacked to see yet another zombie war story, I can't get that pumped about it.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I'm selling this. I'm sick of zombies. But I did like 28 Days Later, so it can occasionally do something cool and different and more realistic. But I like Natalie Dormer. I like where she's going with her career. Hunger Games is next. I'm excited to see her in that.
I think she signed on for the 2 final Hunger
Games.
Yeah.
It's cool.
All right, what's next?
Via his Twitter account, director Seth MacFarlane has revealed that actor Liam Neeson will appear in the upcoming sequel Ted 2. In his tweet, MacFarlane said, "Yesterday Liam Neeson, today Morgan Freeman. Not a bad week for Ted 2. Alicia Byrcell, Liam Neeson joining Ted 2.
Buy anything with Liam Neeson. He is my favourite. He's such a nice guy. I like his action hero roles, and even though A Million Ways to Die in the West wasn't that great, I liked that he was in it, and I love him in anything. But it's great that him and Seth still have a good relationship. They're coming back together again. And Liam, when he does comedic roles, are always funny. So I hope that they make fun of his action hero kind of thing, and I just love him. Good cop, bad cop. I mean, that was brilliant.
I mean, I should sell this because the last time they did something together, it was A Million Ways to Die in the West. But I'm going to buy it because I am fully on the Liam Neeson train. I remember, completely irrelevant to anything we're talking about. Oh my God, the first time I met him, I think was when they were doing press for The Grey. And Ewan McGregor was on another floor pressing something else and thought, oh, they're going to get Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan right here. But he reached out to shake my hand, and you don't really get how big of a man Liam Neeson is. He's huge.
But he's so quietly spoken at the same time.
And then he reached out to shake, because he's sitting down, I didn't realize how big he was. And he went to shake my hand, and like his hand swallows my hand. I'm not a small guy. He's a huge dude. But if he's in it and the comedic stuff, I brought it up before, but look on YouTube for the skit that he does with Ricky Gervais.
Oh, yeah.
About, I want to do stand-up comedy.
Yes.
It's hilarious. Anyway.
Liam Neeson can be 6'5", I think is what he is. It doesn't matter. As long as you have the 1 foot tall talking bear in there. That's what I want in Ted 2. And the fact that you have all these celebrities that are so well known that for these iconic roles like Morgan Freeman or Liam Neeson, it means that the bear is going to have a lot of fun with this. As long as he doesn't take away any of Ted's screen time, I'm in love with this idea, buying it.
And the 2 Dark Knight people coming back together. Morgan, Liam.
Yes, that's right. Okay.
I'll go and Lucius Fox.
Yeah.
Lucius Fox versus Ra's al Ghul. All right. We reached that part of the show for mailbag. Listen, folks, if you've got a comment or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, we're going to save a few minutes at the end of the show to take some of your live questions as well. So if you're watching us live and you're on Twitter, tweet to us at AMC Movie News. But for now, let's get to the mailbag question. So, Ashley, what do we got?
Douglas Truman writes, Marvel currently holds 3rd place as highest grossing movie with The Avengers. Sadly, I don't see that happening again with another Marvel MCU film. I feel like the reason it did so well was the event factor of the film, and unless they do something else we haven't seen, such as Marvel, Fox, and Sony crossover for Civil War, which they won't get those numbers again. My question is, do you think Marvel could/will ever take James Cameron's position as king of the box office?
No.
Yeah.
No. I mean, let's put this in perspective. It's not just that, Avatar is the #1 box office film of all time by a nose.
Yeah.
Avengers made so much money, just devastated the box office. And it has only made almost half of what Avatar, it's like 1.5 billion, Avatar's like 2.7 billion. That's ridiculous. It's like so far gone. As far as the comment about, they can never do it all unless they cross in X-Men, unless they cross in Spider-Man 2. Even that wouldn't add anything to the box office. A lot of people keep forgetting, because it's just myself personally, I don't know anybody that has seen a Spider-Man movie that has not seen Avengers. So that wouldn't add any money. I personally don't know anybody that saw Days of Future Past that did not see Avengers. So that wouldn't add any money to it. It makes that much money by people going back to watch it 6 or 7 or 8 times, and that comes from making an awesome movie, which Avengers was. But now you got to get back and see it 12, 14, 15, 25 times to catch that. So I just don't see it happening in the foreseeable future. Maybe in my lifetime. I don't know, Mark. What do you think?
It's hard to see it happening, but I don't think James Cameron's the guy you got to worry about going forward. I think Star Wars is who you got to worry about going forward, because I think that Star Wars is going to be a movie that people see 10, 11, 12 times. Even though Celine Dion isn't involved in the soundtrack, people are going to want to see that over and over and over again, and that's going to take over the top box office. Now, having said that, Marvel has event movies that are going to come out. The Avengers 2 is an event movie that we haven't seen yet, and I think that if you did throw everything, if you threw the kitchen sink at Mark, you put in Spider-Man and Wolverine and the Punisher, hell, let's put him in there. I think people would want to see that a few more times. I don't know that it will overtake Avatar or going forward a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I don't think it'll overtake Avatar or Titanic, because they, as you said, are so far ahead from the Avengers. But Avengers 2 could come close to the Avengers, riding on the success of the Avengers. If you look at the top 10 worldwide all-time box office, you've got Avatar, Titanic, the Avengers, then the last Harry Potter film, and the third Iron Man film. So it does show that films later on in a franchise can do really well.
Oh, yeah.
But Avatar and Titanic are untouchable at this point in time.
Now, I don't even think the new Star Wars film, Episode 7, is going to get to the first Avengers. I don't think it's to make $1.5 billion, because it's still dealing with the stink of the prequels on a little bit. I think if it's awesome and they move forward and get better, but there is one way it could work. Okay. We've seen some of the stuff. It looks like they're probably going back to Tatooine in Episode 7. So, the opening crawl happens, pan down on Tatooine. You're in a cantina. Maybe it's the same cantina from the first one, I don't know. And Celine Dion is singing on stage.
And there are blue Navis around.
Yes, you put that in there. I think you might have winner.
Finally find out that she's an alien, or at least a Canadian, which I don't know if they serve their kind. I don't know if Jack Campy is allowed in the Mos Eisley Cantina. We got to find out.
I mean, they put E.T. Remember that in the Star Wars prequel? They put E.T. in it, put some Navi, have her on stage singing the song. Box office gold.
Here's my question. Does the Patton Oswalt filibuster from Parks and Rec movie, does that break the box office record of Avatar? When he throws every universe together, Star Wars plus Marvel, in one movie, that might break
Avatar's
Avatar's
current
record.
lawsuit going on that he's claiming that J.J. Abrams actually stole that idea from him and is doing it right now. I think we're having problems with our Twitter feed, are we?
I've got one question already pulled.
Okay,
so
we were having some technical problems with our Twitter feed, but apparently Ashley's pulled one out, so we'll do the one, then we'll call it a day.
All right. High Wave writes, why are stand-up comedians often so amazing at dramatic roles?
Sorry, what was the last part of the question?
At dramatic roles. Why are stand-up comedians often so amazing at dramatic roles?
And in general.
I will say this. I don't agree with the premise of your question, because I think it's rare that we see comedians suddenly be able to transform and be great at dramatic roles. And I think the fact that we can probably name 4 or 5 of them kind of highlights the fact that it's a rare thing. Usually they're great at comedy or whatever. But I would say that the reason that it's even possible, I've known a lot of comedians, people sitting at this table included, that have very dark souls. Yeah. I know a lot of comedians. Well, actually, back in Canada, I used to hang out with a real big circle of stand-up comedians, and it's like, you're really messed up, dude. So I don't know, Mark, why do you think guys in your line of profession can sometimes make that jump and that transition and be great dramatically?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that you can catch me at the Tempe Improv, October 2nd through the 5th. I think that it's a harder transition.
And then drinking his sorrows away at the bar later.
That will happen. Go Sun Devils. I think that it's a harder transition to make, because he mentioned stand-up comedians. Stand-up comedy to being a great comedic actor is, I think, a bigger leap than it is from being a great comedic actor to drama. Jim Carrey was a great impressionist, and he did stand-up. He started out doing stand-up. His big leap was being great in Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
Right, yeah.
And then if you talk about the other side of comedians, where, yes, we're very happy and bubbly on stage sometimes, it's the sad clown thing you hear about over and over again, then you have a lot of demons. And anytime you're a dramatic actor, having things you can tap into that are darker, that aren't so pleasant, is really going to, if you have the ability to bring that out in a role, then that can make you a great dramatic actor. So I think that's why, is that there's just a lot of stuff going on in our heads sometimes, and you can't always get it out in a happy way. So if you find another outlet like a dramatic role, there's your answer.
Yeah, well, they do say tragedy and comedy are very closely aligned. They're like two sides of the one coin. And to be a stand-up comedian, I imagine you have to be quite fearless. It seems like the scariest thing in the world to me.
It's a piece of cake.
To do that. So I think these kind of people are really fearless and throw themselves into the roles. I'm just looking forward to seeing Steve Carell in Foxcatcher. But I loved like Adam Sandler in Punch Drunk Love, and Jim Carrey in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. There have been some great roles. And Robin Williams with all the dramatic stuff he did.
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks, yeah. So it can be done, but I think you're right, it is quite rare.
All right, folks. Well, listen, that'll do it for us for this installment of AMC Movie Talk. We want to thank once again the director of The Equalizer, Antoine Fuqua, for stopping by and being in the studio with us today. Don't forget The Equalizer does start, and other great, amazing films playing at AMC Theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for your theater, showtime, movie ticket information. If you want an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video, and you'll find a link to our podcast feed. And don't forget, click the thumbs up button, click subscribe button. I want to thank the people sitting at the table with me. First of all, to my right, the lovely Alicia Malone. Alicia, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Alicia Malone.
Sitting over there, stand-up comedian. At where? Tempe? You're going to be at? Mr. Mark Ellis, where can people see you?
In Tempe, October 2nd through the 5th, and on Twitter and Instagram, it's at 5150 Ellis.
And, of course, our lovely host today, dealing and struggling through the technical issues to still make everything work, Miss Ashley Mova. Ashley, where can people find you?
I tried, guys. Twitter, Instagram, at Ashley Mova. Happy Thursday, guys.
And, of course, you can find me on all the various social media networks, just at John Campia. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. My name is John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until next time, bye-bye.
Hey everyone, if you like this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.